Straight ahead on 12 News, touring the Twin Cities in search of good development. How this trip could help shape parts of Brooklyn Park. Then,
it's just a really good learning device to have. I mean, it's really fun to use them.
Technology that continues to transform the classroom. But first, a Plymouth woman's surprise.
I'm shocked that I got my car turned off without any notice.
12 News starts right now. When you turn on your vehicle, you could be taking an unexpected passenger with you.
A Plymouth woman recently found that out the hard way, and 12 News reporter Sonia Goen shares her high-tech surprise.
This way.
Bonnie Fogelstad has been trying to get back on track after losing her job.
I was laid off in 2009. The hardest job I've ever had is looking for a job.
She thought her luck was about to turn around after getting a job interview.
The next morning, I went out to my car to go to the interview, and the car wouldn't start. There was nothing. I turned the key and it didn't start. I thought it was broke, and so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay for this? What am I going to do?
She called the dealership to see if they could help.
And they looked it up, and she came back on the phone and she said, it's been turned off.
Bonnie has a loan with a company called Genesee Financial. They also go by the name of Automotive Development Group.
I owe a little over $900.
The company used a GPS device to shut the engine down. It's hidden underneath the hood.
I mean, first off, I'm shocked that I got my car turned off without any notice.
Bonnie says she was working with the company and even told them she had a job interview.
It's hard. It's hard when you work so hard and you run across somebody that could care less.
She says she doesn't recall the lender telling her about the GPS device.
Oh, I'd never heard of it. Never.
It sounds like they're becoming more of a thing in the industry.
Dan Hendrickson calls this the high-tech version of the Repo Man.
So this is just one way that lenders can say, okay, we know where our car is going to be, we can track it anytime, and if need be, we can push a button and shut it down.
He says customers should look at the fine print, and banks should be upfront about their practices.
From a consumer standpoint, I think it would have been great had this been disclosed. Some best practices will kind of shake out eventually here. Maybe dealers will start to see, we should really be telling people about this.
I want other people to be aware of that.
Bonnie says she's telling her story so no one else will have to go down this road.
Just because you're vulnerable and just because you're desperate and you're in need and you're trying everything that you can do, there's people out there that really don't care.
Now, Automotive Development Group told me they put GPS devices on every car. They also say that they try to work hard with customers before getting to this point. The company also has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Now, Mike and Alex, ironically, Bonnie's car was turned back on today.
Oh, good for her. But there's something that consumers can learn from this. Everybody can get something from this now.
Right. The Better Business Bureau says if anybody is going through this, that they should give them a call or maybe call the Attorney General's office to get more information.
And know what you're signing.
Know what you're signing. Read the fine print.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. Well, the federal minimum wage is currently $7.25 an hour, but some Minnesota lawmakers believe that figure should increase, but they can't agree on how much. A non-scientific poll conducted at the Minnesota State Fair shows that more than 65% believe the state should raise the minimum wage to $8.50 an hour for small employers and $9.50 an hour for large employers. This year, the State House and Senate both passed bills raising the minimum wage, but they had vastly different figures and couldn't reach a compromise. Representative Ryan Winkler of Golden Valley says he's hopeful the DFL-controlled legislature can settle the matter next year.
So in this case, if we had raised it to $9.50 an hour, about 360,000 Minnesota workers would see a pay increase. By going and hold another year without passing that bill, they lose that pay increase for a full year. That money never comes back. So every year counts.
The nonpartisan House Public Information Services Office conducted the poll and surveyed more than 7,000 people.
Large portions of northern Brooklyn Park are still undeveloped, but ideas are taking shape to fill that area. Members of the city's so-called Signature Development Task Force embarked on a 5-hour tour Thursday. They visited more than 20 sites around the metro area to get ideas for potential development along Highway 610.
Well, I think the tour today gives us some ideas of what we can use with that great canvas along the 610 in Brooklyn Park. Gives us an opportunity to think outside the box a little bit and recognize what can actually be done at that great spot that we have on the 610.
Stops included Edina's Centennial Lakes, Gold Medal Park in Minneapolis, and Excelsior and Grand in St. Louis Park.
The applications are in for a city council vacancy in Plymouth. The Ward 4 seat opened up after council member Ginny Black decided to retire. Here's a look at the list of people who applied for the council seat. The Plymouth City Council will appoint one of them to fill the remainder of Black's term, which runs through the end of next year. The appointment is expected to happen later this month. Well, Vikings fans know it. We are only a couple of days away from the season opener.
And the Minnesota Vikings take on the Detroit Lions Sunday in Detroit, but fans gathered this morning in Plymouth to talk up the game. Our reporter Shannon Slatton was there.
Rushing and receiving, 3 for passing.
Optimism runs high
11-5 on the low end. Super Bowl champions.
among the Vikings faithful.
I hope and pray that they're going to go all the way to the end.
The first game of the year kicks off Sunday.
So we came out here, B-Dubs in Plymouth, you know, this is our spot.
And if this crowd has any doubts about the team's chances, they aren't voicing them.
I think it's going to go very well.
Sports Radio K-Fan hosts kicked off their Friday football feast at Buffalo Wild Wings in Plymouth.
It's a great kickoff to our football season. Obviously getting all the Vikings fans out here is awesome.
Which means all hands are on deck at this sports bar, which thrives off of wings and football.
The football season is our busiest season. It really just kicks into high gear.
A devoted crowd showing it's never too early to put on your purple and cheer for the home team.
It's fun, it's a good time. Everyone's out supporting the Vikings, having some fun, drinking some beer and wings in the morning. Can't beat it.
The spirit is good, the energy is high, and it's a good indication of how fans are feeling about the season to come.
In Plymouth, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
The Friday football feast will be at the Buffalo Wild Wings in Crystal on December 6th, and so it begins.
Yeah,
right?
here we go.
Another season. Coming up, a look at how technology is transforming how students learn.
Then later in sports, it's a good one in boys soccer as Totino-Grace takes on Eden Prairie.
But first, the heat is on. Your AccuWeather forecast shows hot and sticky temperatures Saturday, but cooler weather comes in on Sunday. A New Hope photographer is visiting some unusual places to find stories for a new book.
Doug Oman has done 14 books on things like schoolhouses and churches of Minnesota, but lately he's been visiting cemeteries, a lot of them. Oman says he's looking for lost history, people who've made an impact in Minnesota but have been forgotten.
After someone's gone, a generation later, they're forgotten. And that's kind of the unfortunate part of being human. My desire is to bring those stories back to the public awareness and say, there's so much more in Minnesota, historically.
For example, Oman points to the grave of a 1-month-old child buried in 1876. Her parents planted a tree that continues to grow and grow. There's no date yet for a book release, but Oman says he will be speaking to the Golden Valley Historical Society next week. Well, for many of us, having some sort of a smart device by our side has become a daily reality.
Yeah, that's true. In area school districts, these tools are now becoming instrumental in the classroom. In the Wayzata School District, all middle school students have their own iPad for use in the classroom and at home. It's changing the way students are learning.
We'll log into Skyward,
At Wayzata Central Middle School,
scan the QR code. I have a beginning of the year survey.
the future is here. The 12 and 13-year-olds in this 7th grade science class all have their own iPads thanks to a technology levy, and more than half of their classroom instruction is done digitally with the iPad.
They can take a quiz and then have another activity right afterwards, and there's no downtime and kind of works to their pace.
I have a whole list of all my classes, and then inside I have folders. So I have Spanish, and then I have notes here. All my notes my teacher has us have.
More than 3,000 Wayzata Middle School students now have an iPad for use around the clock, and it's connecting them instantly to a world of information not available in the past.
It used to be you had to come to school to get the information. Now the information will come to you wherever you are.
Gone are the days when a smart device was considered a distraction or a problem in the classroom. Now these are considered a primary learning tool available to students 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They bring the world of learning to wherever a student is, whether it's in school or at home or on an airplane or wherever.
It's also changing the way students learn.
When it's digital, you can always have it with you, you can always access it later, and it helps you remember it better.
You come across a problem, you need an answer. I mean, just go onto the web and how do you do this? Boom, there it is.
There's guidelines and filters for how students use this technology, but there's no limit to the knowledge they can acquire. This school district believes that's ultimately the best preparation for the future.
It's really a tool that allows students to do so many different things.
Wayzata Elementary students are also using iPads in the classroom, and eventually the district would like to provide an iPad for all 10,000 students in the school district. And it's not as though the teachers have to teach the kids how to use the technology.
No, they know that.
No, they just have to meet them where they're already at. Right. Coming up, farm life, urban adventures, and one unusual art exhibit.
But first in sports, Osseo looks to stay undefeated in volleyball. John Jacobson knows that and more when we come back.
The Totino-Grace boys soccer team won 3 of its first 4 matches this fall. The Eagles figured to get their toughest test yet against another team called the Eagles when they took on the Eden Prairie Eagles Thursday night. Grace is in white. Rafael Sendejas Garcia sends the pass to Nicholas Tedeschi, but Eden Prairie goalie Alex Cron making a nice stop. Eden Prairie's Eagles looking to get on the board. The long crossing pass read well by keeper Brandon Hilliard, and he dives and makes it stop just in time, and it stays scoreless. Late in the first half, Grace strikes. Daniel Linder's pass finds Austin Lohr, and his shot gets past Horn for a 1-0 lead. However, Eden Prairie ties at 1-1 before halftime. And EP goes ahead on a great effort by Davis Eldridge. Nice left-footed shot into the far side of the net, 2-1 Eden Prairie, and that's the final. They win the Battle of the Eagles. Grace faces St. Louis Park in its next game Tuesday. Week 2 of the prep football season kicks off tonight. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk with Nick Clark of the Sun newspapers about some of the local teams, including the Cooper Hawks, who host Benilde St. Margaret's tonight live on Channel 12.
I think what we've come to expect out of these really hard coached teams over the last 4 years is athletes. And I think we saw that last week. They opened up the season, nice victory over Marshall. Marshall hadn't lost a regular season game in 2 years prior to then, and they come in week 1, and Cooper with, I think, 19 or 20 new starters on the team. Both sides of the ball comes in and scored on big plays and used its athletes and took advantage of that aspect of the game and, went on to a nice victory.
Benilde St. Margaret's last year was only 5-5, but talking to co-head coach John Hanks a couple of weeks ago at practice, he was actually really excited about last season. He said, we were in every game, lost a lot of close games, got a lot of good skill position players back, including his son who's a wide receiver. They should provide a tough test for Cooper here tonight. Yeah, and they come in off a nice victory as well. And if you look back over the history of this a little bit, 7 years that these two teams have been North Suburban Conference members, Benilde's won them all. The last 4 years, that's come in week 1. The last couple of which have been barn burners. I think last year was a 3-point game, 41-38, if I'm not mistaken. And, we might see that tonight, but, Benilde was really good last week, too. I hear Albany's a bit tough football team to play against, and they went up there and, Keaton Stunzer, the quarterback, went to work, and they seemed to handle them pretty well. Cooper moves into a new conference next year. What do you think of the new Metro West? I think it's an outstanding conference, yet to be completed, we should add. It's 7 teams as of now. The 2 Bloomington schools, Jefferson Kennedy, Chaska, Chanhassen, St. Louis Park, Richfield, and Robbinsdale Cooper. I think it's going to be a good mix. It's kind of some old school stuff around here, back to the old Lake Conference Red Division days, where a lot of these schools, those are old rivals, Richfield and Cooper and the Bloomington schools, and it should be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see how they fill it out. Obviously, the Minnesota State High School League still has some decisions to make with placement. Thanks to Nick Clark. We'll have that Benilde Cooper game live for you tonight, Friday on Channel 12 at 7 o'clock. The game also replays Saturday night at both 8:30 and 11 o'clock. You can catch highlights from other local football games and more on the season debut of Sports Jam. That airs Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. New times at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. here on Channel 12. Osseo's volleyball team has a key Northwest Suburban Conference match coming up Tuesday when the Orioles visit Blaine. Osseo looked to stay unbeaten as they hosted Roseville Thursday. We pick it up in Game 2, a back set to Shia Sanders for the kill for Osseo. The good defense, Christina Bowe here gets the big block for the Orioles, and another Osseo point on the board. Then a nice set to Hannah Pekarik, who gets the kill down the line. Osseo wins the second game, 25-19. The Raiders take a quick lead in Game 3. Greta Thune with the block for a point. but Osseo comes back. Jackie Jones splits the blockers to get the kill. And then another tough block by the freshman Bo. Osseo wins the game 25-20 and the match in 3 straight. The Orioles are now 3-0 this season. And that is a look at sports today.
And all fired up.
Yes,
I love
it
it. Thanks, John. Still ahead, art inspired by 2 drastically different lifestyles.
We'll show you the new exhibit that blends urban lifestyle with country living. Coming up.
The city describes it as a time to let your hair down and have some good old-fashioned fun. It's the 37th annual Osseo Lions Roar Festival. It's held this evening and Saturday. And what's a festival without food? The menu includes grilled pork chops, Polish sausage, and, quote, huge turkey legs. The family-friendly event includes the Osseo Lions Roar Parade, which starts at noon on Saturday. And the event ends Saturday night with music by the Moose Knuckle Brothers Band. Well, 2 young artists are featuring a unique twist on nature.
In today's weekend showcase, one focuses on the urban landscape, the other on the countryside. Together, they make up a show called Rust and Wax.
Back to nature, back to the basics. I hope people kind of pull that from it.
When you look at Alex Wozniak's work, look closely for the real thing. It could be sand in a painting of a farm field, or tiny pieces of evergreen in rows to simulate plants, or even real pieces of a barn.
If I can especially take materials from places that I remember memories from when I was a child, that can mean even more.
As a child, Alex remembers taking long trips to northern Minnesota and what he saw through the window of a car.
Kind of seeing the countryside pass by, these long 3.5-hour car rides.
The natural design of farm fields stuck with him, and what he's doing now in his Brooklyn Park garage is reproducing them with a 3rd dimension using melted wax and color from melted crayons, all designed to give a painting depth and texture.
Almost kind of like a 3-dimensional aspect on the canvases.
He has dirt in his, and I have actual rust in mine.
Artist Matt Dooley gets inspiration from what he sees driving around the city. Nature at work, wearing away at the urban landscape. That brown streak there is rust.
It's actual rust. I make my own rust paint, which I'm gonna keep that to myself of how I make it.
Where some people see decaying bridges that need repair, Dooley sees the basis for art.
Mother Nature creates a lot of artwork.
Together, they are the Rust and Wax Show at North Hennepin Community College. Young artists say with real elements in their work, it's a unique way to appreciate nature.
They're very organic, and they involve the actual material that they represent.
The show opens on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.